It's extremely non-intuitive to hear about light that you can't see. The question quickly arises, then how are you going to show it to me? Well, it's not our mission today to go into the granular technical aspects about how these images are made, because you'll be led down a rabbit hole of why and how. And the mere fact that you're tuned in right now means that you have the aptitude to grasp the concept. Trust me. If you have a deeper interest, I suggest you go Google it on your way and through your spare time, because that's probably the best way to get into the specific details. It's a fantastic topic. Instead, today we prefer to show you images that will fascinate and hopefully encourage you to try your hand at this mysterious form of photography. The presenters each have a unique approach and will be around later to answer your questions. Due to their expertise, you will save time and money should you choose to venture into this area of photography.
So moving on to infrared and ultraviolet, a lot of folks later on are going to show you their really cool stereo photography in the magic of infrared. And the way that works is that a lot of cameras these days add a filter that blocks the infrared light from getting through to your lens, right? So if I take my current iPhone with the lots of different cameras, if I take a picture, if I take a remote control and I stick it and I try to look at it on my viewfinder, nothing's going to come through because it's blocking all of that interesting light. So what you can do is either get your camera converted, or you can use kind of an older technology. So since I'm a big fan of free stuff and hacking stuff that shouldn't be done that way, what I'm going to do is just show you real quick 3 different ways to use some off-the-shelf cameras to capture your own infrared. And some of this will make maybe a little bit more sense later on. So I'm going to talk about the W3, which is kind of the gold standard for a while, and it's actually 2010, I would probably say. And so I want to, let's see, I wanted to bring my photo onto the screen, but that'll work. Okay, so this is the cyclopedal attachment. We have the link on the page. Ken Burgess, friend of all 3D folks, who's here also. He 3D printed these at some point, and so they're maybe available on demand. But basically, you put your W3 into this, and it lets you put lenses on the front. So a natural extension, and what we're talking about today is we're going to be putting some infrared lenses on it. So I did this back in like 2011, 2010 probably. And so I just want to show you that once you put this this filter on the front of your camera, right, it's going to filter out. So it's a little filter. And this is, I think, probably 720 nanometers. You end up with a slightly different color. We get nice clouds. And then what we want to do is, oh, that's interesting. What did my, okay. But you can see I got a little light leak coming through, so I'd have to fix that. Back then we were doing wide angle lenses, and so you can see there's a little bit of cleanup going on, but this is just directly right out of the camera, right from the W3. So you'll have to do a lot of kind of cleaning things up. Now what I've done is kind of put some corners on it, aligned it, made the color correct. There's still kind of this wacky blur in the middle. That might have to do with the infrared or the light. I'm not totally sure. But it's still kind of a workable picture. And then we just kind of turn it black and white. And you can try to preview that. I think I have it as anaglyph here. Yeah, here we go. So, you know, not the best picture, a lot of kind of noise. You have to tweak the camera a little bit. But again, it's just if you have a W3, you have this adapter, you want to just try it out. Go for it, although there are probably better ways with conversion and stuff that we'll talk about later. And this is another one that I just took where I thought that the sky looked kind of neat. And so that was that same day. I got a crazy lens flare. And I don't like to turn it into black and white because the red is fun. So another thing we got is back, again, we were doing dual rigs kind of back in the day. And so I keep this over here. Here we go. Right, so this is two Canon cameras just kind of stuck together. And they are from about, I want to say like 2012, I think these cameras are from. They're about an 8 megapixel. So this is Governor's Island, and that's just, again, out of the, right out of the camera. And this is tweaking the colors a little bit, but just gives you an idea of what you can grab. And then finally, again, another, this is the NX1000 rig, and we have a link on the main site. It's kind of breaking it, but a lot of people have these, and it turns out it doesn't really block the infrared as well as modern cameras. So you can get some, I think some decent results with those. So that is it for that presentation. And then what I wanted to do is just move on to Oktay. And what I will do is change my background here, if I can just do this. And you can see, here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna hide my picture. And as we move on to the next speaker, we have a link to this on the Fancy Glyph page. But also, if you look at my picture, if you want to pin it, you can kind of see in Turkey the various little areas that he's going to be talking about. So I will kick it back to you, John. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. That was great. Appreciate that very much. I am going to remove my picture for a moment because you don't really need to see me or Dylan. So I'm going to duck out. And Oktay, do we have you out there?
Yeah, I am here.
Great, great. And glad you're making it. Stand by.
Thank you.
Oh, there we go. Well, let me introduce Oktay
Yes.
Akdeniz. I just
Yes.
like saying that. I hope I got it right. He joins us from his hometown, Istanbul, Turkey, architect by trade and a devoted lifetime photographer. During his retirement, he taught photography. What a lucky students, man. They just have, I hope they appreciated that because, man, I heard you chime in. I hope that was, yeah, they loved you.
Yeah.
There you go. He's been shooting stereo since, and if I make sure I got this right, 1994, and even manufactures 3D cameras and macro systems. He told me that he actually built his first 3D camera that he ever owned. So now he shoots mostly macro in ancient buildings using a variety of cameras, including many that he still has designs and built himself, including lenses. I assure you that if it's worth hanging around on the after party, I hope he has the time to stick around because it's very late for him. But he's a very interesting fellow and very willing to share. And he's been fantastic so far. So I'm going to begin the images with you. How are we doing out there? How was your day in Turkey today?
A little bit cold and little rain. It's okay.
Okay, it's raining here in New York. We have that in common. I'm glad we're on the same.
I think New York and Istanbul are in the same parallel line.
Yeah, I'm always going to remember you said that. That's
Okay.
great. Okay, so we're going to go to that first image. Stand by.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite beautiful. Where was this shot?
This is the antique town of Ephesus. It's Ephesus.
Mm-hmm. Now, how far is that from Istanbul?
It's located on the map. Do you see the map?
No, I know, but that's okay. I'm sure it's on the
How
map.
far it is? It's about.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
Right,
it's
right
about 300 miles from Istanbul.
All the way to the west.
But very close to Izmir. Izmir is another town at the coast.
And what is this? Is this like a regular tourist spot that people go to?
This is the most famous tourist spot in Turkey. It's
wow.
Yeah, this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
And explain the significance of it, please.
This is an ancient Roman town. It was a port town and a very rich And there is also the pilgrimage site for Christians. It's supposedly Virgin Mary has been living there for some time, so many Christians are coming for pilgrimage.
What
It's
kind of
very,
camera?
very close.
I was going to say, what kind of camera did you shoot this with?
This one is the converted Nikon D4. Infrared converted Nikon D4.
And that,
Cha-cha.
I was going to ask. I was just about to ask if that was a cha-cha. So, well,
Yeah,
okay.
sure. It's only one body on it, one camera.
Now, how do you align these? Well,
STM, SPM.
SPN.
Yeah. Ya otur biraz ya.
How many images do you shoot to get these? Do you shoot several to do the cha-cha, or just you take two and?
No, I always take two, one left and one right.
Okay. Interesting. Quite a beautiful image. Now, how hard is it to get to this site? Car, train?
No, by plane.
Mm-hmm.
By plane and then by bus maybe.
And okay, so commercial airline in, and then.
Oh yeah. This is the most famous place in Turkey. You know, I'm sure many of the participants, maybe some of them have visited Ephesus already.
Well, if they haven't, you've been a great
I
traveler.
mean, you have to wait in front of the site to get in. You know, it's so crowded.
Did you have to crop this at all?
Very little, very little.
Great.
Yeah.
And now this image, where is this location?
This is the Mount. This is also a UNESCO site. It's located on the right of the map, the far right, and this is Nemrut Mountain. If you know about the ancient history, Nemrut.
Wow.
It's about 2,800 meters high mountain. These are the statues of kings of that period.
And what camera did you shoot this with?
Same, all the
camera.
same. In the Nikon D4 converter.
In terms of time, what was the time span here? Like between this and the last picture?
Pardon?
Between this and the last picture, was it on the same tour, or did you just go separately to these locations?
Well, I took a plane to nearby town and then hired a taxi and came here and stayed one day here from about 10 o'clock until 6 o'clock. It was April, but still what you see as white here is the snow.
So the key in these images is to actually have a lot of sunlight, right? You need the light.
Exactly. I mean, I don't shoot without sunlight, and I don't even shoot at late afternoon or early morning, and I don't shoot against sun itself also.
And this location, where is this?
This location is close to the first location. The location here is not that important because these are mostly the remains of some ruins. It's not a very big city, but I like the composition of the tree and the leaves and the blocks of marble that are fallen there.
Yeah, it's quite beautiful.
Yeah, but this is also an ancient town about 2,500 years ago.
Now, are you using manual settings or using a handheld light meter or just Sunny 16? How are you doing? How are you judging that light?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Well, for focusing, I have a special marks on the lens. I'm using a 18 to 55 millimeter Nikon lens on this, and I have marked on the lens. I'll show it to you here. Let's see if it. Well, here, I've got these marks here. You see, these are special for infrared focusing. See? Oh yeah, here it is.
I'm gonna
and
tap
for metering, I have about 2 steps under exposure on program.
Mm-hmm.
On the program mode, I set it to depends, 2 steps or 1.5 steps under exposure.
And do you generally, well, how do you judge what you're going to do? Do you just decide the light of the day and then you kind of make that half step adjustment?
Yeah. As I told you, I shoot almost always in full sunshine, and the sun most of the time will be behind me. And this setting of the camera gives always a good exposure. I keep the ISO at about 200, and this is the minimum of the camera anyway. And the exposure is actually program mode.
Okay, and that half is got it. Interesting.
Well, this is another ancient site. There are so many of them there.
It's quite beautiful. I mean, what got you involved in IR photography in general? Why did you pick it?
Well, I have been taking photographs for so many years, and so IR was also one option. Actually, I took IR photography also before the digital. The Ilford has an IR film, which was not as effective as the digital converted cameras, but because it was interesting, it was different. That's why I got it.
What was your first camera?
The IR?
No, in 3D, I'm sorry. Your first stereo camera.
My first stereo camera is the camera that I have manufactured myself. Well, okay, I show it to you that way. Let me show it to you again.
There's all his various camera equipment in the background, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I'll finish with that. I'll get into that.
This is the here it is. Yeah, this is the first stereo camera I have used.
Wow.
It's a homemade camera.
Yeah, what made you think you could chop 2 cameras in half and make them actually work? I'm impressed with just that thought alone.
Well, I'm an architect and I design things. So before doing this, I draw everything. I make a design of it and I do it according. I know that it will work. I know optics. I know a little bit about mechanics, and I do such things all the time. Actually, not only in photography.
Do you have a machine shop?
No.
So okay.
Just hacksaw and screwdrivers and epoxy.
Measure twice, cut once.
Exactly. Measure twice. But I really design. I have here, maybe I'll show it another time, notebooks full of drawings of how I did these cameras. They are design drawings. Here is another one, which is for close range 3D. Yeah. How many? 18 millimeter base.
I can keep asking you questions for the next 20 minutes. Well, let's go through these pictures, and then we're gonna you're full of great answers. So, what place is this now? This is an amazing shot.
Yeah, this is Cappadocia. This is also a very famous tourist spot in Turkey, and there is you can travel with the balloons.
Mm-hmm.
In early morning, you can go up with balloons and travel the whole region.
That's even funnier when you think about it. These things look like I could punch a hole in the balloon. I just love it. I love the idea that you're flying over it. That would freak me out a little bit, but
you can fly over.
That's excellent. Now, again, I hate to be redundant, but with the camera you're using?
The same.
Same one? Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's the same D4, Nikon. For infrared, I use only one camera.
Oh, I understand. Got it.
And I don't have a rig, actually, so it's all cha-cha.
All cha-cha.
Actually, I tried it on the Canon with the filters attached on front of the lens, but that gave me a very long exposure, so I gave up the idea of shooting synchronized 3D. So
and
these
where
are
is
all sequential.
Now? Where is this?
Yeah, this is also a UNESCO heritage town. very old town. It's shown on the map, Safranbolu. It's at the very north, that blue dot at the very north, which is a little bit closer to Istanbul, maybe. And this is a town, you can do no construction is not allowed. So they want to keep it as it is. This is an old town, of course.
So there's really no industry, except a tourist industry in this town, right?
Yeah, tourist industry only.
Would you know what the hyper, what the distance between?
Yeah, the distance is about 7-8 feet.
Now, how do you do those cha-chas that big? Do you mark a spot or just take a guess in the run? Because obviously you got to make a big
I take a guess, and most of the time that guess gives a good result, you know. And there is another thing in the viewfinder. When you look at the viewfinder of the camera, you know, I choose a point of the front object, of course. And then when I move, that point should move a certain distance that I am accustomed to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's say a few millimeters. If I, you know, if I find that point, I shoot the right picture. I always shoot left and then the right one. But in the viewfinder or in the screen itself, when I move the camera sideways, there will be a little distance between the left and right image. And that distance, you know, I got accustomed to it. It will be
Interesting. That's why you have to just shoot. That's the whole point. Get out and do something.
I never shoot more than two pictures. And most of the time, sometimes they will be excessive and sometimes it will be less, but most of the times it's okay.
So where was the town, the last picture we were looking at? A couple questions have come up. Where is this?
This is the town which is marked on the map at the very north. At this, Safranbolu is the name.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, at the north.
Also, we've had a question. Were those twin Zenith cameras you used for your first homemade camera? The two cameras you had together, were they Zenith?
Well, no, I have a Zenith cameras, but this is not Zenith. This is another one from the same country. Russian cameras. Vilya is the name.
Great, thank you.
Vilya with the triplex lenses.
That's me.
This is a, you know, as you know, the one, you know, the IR filter clears the dust and haze and everything. You know, if I shoot this same photograph with a normal camera, you can't see the ground so clearly. If you shoot with the infrared camera, it will be very clear. It clears the haze, you know.
That's something I wanted to mention to the audience who's watching. The other thing interesting about these, you get great detail in the images because the atmosphere, like as Oktay just mentioned, just through the nature of the way ultraviolet reflection works, you get it cuts through much of the
it clears all the haze. Yeah.
So that's the other aspect of it that is quite fascinating. Now, what is part of? Do you know where you were when you were flying over this area? Where's this mountainous area? Have any idea?
No.
That's okay. Still
No,
beautiful.
you know, I've been flying so many, you know. So
yeah, of course. I forgot to catch on one question. That's all.
Yeah, this is a no house fly, you know, but it's infrared, you know. Yeah, it's the same D4 camera, the converted infrared camera. But as I told you, you know, I manufacture macro lenses for different cameras like Nikon or for other models. So I simply attach that macro lens to the Nikon body and I can take any macros.
And how are you lighting this?
This is with the flash.
On the camera itself, you think? Or external flash?
It could be external, it could be on camera flash. I really don't remember.
How'd you make the fly stand still?
No, it's with the flash.
I know.
When you are using the flash, you know, I have flying bees or other things, and if you take them in flash, they'll freeze the action.
No, I got it. And he's certainly frozen. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, the fly is moving maybe, but
But okay, so you have the macro lens hooked up. You're not going. You're doing a cha-cha with this? Or, oh, my out of my
no,
mind.
no, no. The macro lens has two
I
lenses.
got you. Yep. You showed me that. Got it.
One
We'll
shot.
take a look at that at the end. And again, this was the flash from the camera itself.
Yeah.
And the settings that you obviously you're not using the Sunny 16 settings. You're
No. That's the flash setting. 60, 1/60.
But you shoot at 60. Gotcha.
Yeah,
1/60th of a second, and like 5.6 is that like the
Yeah, depending, No, that lens has a fixed aperture. The aperture of this lens is 16, about 16 to 22.
Gotcha. That's
I mean, this is the macro lens that I produce. They have fixed apertures.
how big is this spider anyway in life? It was like a half-inch, quarter-inch, teeny. How big is this thing?
Half inch, I think.
Yep.
3/4 maybe.
Did he ever catch you fly from the other picture? Okay. Let's keep going. Bad joke. I'll edit that one out. And this is another beautiful image. Now again, where did you find these subjects? Where did you shoot this?
In my garden, they are everywhere actually.
Yep.
I mean, I didn't shoot many infrared macros, but I think I have about 60,000 of them. Macros I shoot daily.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, especially this last 3-4 months, I was in a town and I came here to clear all the pictures and everything. I shot about 15,000 macros in 3 months. Every day I go out and shoot.
Okay, making a giant step back. I just want to confirm this. Now, you use this macro lens is now. What camera is the macro lens on, or is there? Because you said you only had one camera to shoot with. Did you?
Yeah. This is the Nikon.
Got it. Nikon camera, same one. Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, that was amazing. Maybe can we pin him? Because I would love him to hold up some stuff. Do I have to
Sorry, who were we pinning? I got lost.
I was gonna pin Oktay just to show some of his stuff, some of his.
Oh, he is. No, he is. He's on.
It says he's spotlighted, so.
He's spotlight. Okay.
He's been showing some of his rigs.
Yeah, I see him. For some reason, I see him tiny in mine.
Yeah,
I got you.
stop sharing your screen, John, for that to work at its best. If you stop your screen.
That's what I was thinking. Yep, stand by. That was my question. Everyone's going to want to know what's behind you there because it's just phenomenal.
Well, I've been collecting cameras for some time.
I'm thinking.
What you see is part of this collection.
Part of it. What are these, your favorite ones? I'm not even. What does your garage look like? I know your kitchen already has metal filings from the hacksaw. So
Yes.
I'm impressed. Which are some of those the cameras that you've built?
No, not well. There are some of them which I built, but not the ones that you are seeing here in my the background. There are some stereo cameras that I have built, some panoramic cameras that I have built, and some macro lenses that I have built. But most of these cameras now we are seeing here are large format cameras, medium format cameras, bellow cameras. I mean, what you are seeing here. But let me try to change the position of my laptop a little bit. Well.
Wow.
Actually, you see at the middle section is the stereo.
The stereo section.
Yeah, you see at the top there is a stereo projector.
Yep.
And there is an antique stereo viewer from 19th century. And this black things with two eyes, it is a ViewMaster projector.
Yeah, it's
But-
fantastic.
Here's a question. Do you have a favorite camera out of all these? Is there, it's probably like asking what your favorite kid is, but
Well, it's a very difficult question, actually. But, you know, if you tell me which one, if you had to lose all of them and leave one behind, I don't know. I have one Linhof camera here, which I like very much. Well, let me see what it is.
Well, you know, that was going to be my question, but they took it away. I was wondering what could possibly be. Well, you know what? There are all you. How many years of collecting is that?
As a matter of fact, you know, I collected all these cameras, the bulk of them, between 1990 and 2000. But I started collecting in 1982. From 1982 to until 1990, I had only 6 or 7 cameras. But within that time limit, 1990 to 2000, I collected most of these.
Well-
Some of them I have from local shops here. Some of them are from eBay.
Yeah, that was my next question.
Some of them are actually, you know, after this Soviet. Sorry, what happened? Did I do something?
No, you did nothing. That was me. I was switching
Oh,
things.
okay.
But you go ahead.
When this, you know, Soviet Union dissolved, many Russians came here with their goods in beginning of the 90s. So they brought many cameras with them. So one section here has only Russian cameras. They are about 100 or 120 pieces. So each camera has its own story. And, you know, most of these cameras have their own unique, you know, characters. The system they work, how the shutter is made, and how the whole, you know, mechanism is working, how they are designed, you know, they are very interesting, actually.
Well, you know, the cameras are interesting. I'll agree, but you are even more so. I want
Thank
to
you.
thank you again for spending that time. Please hang around with us. We have one thing which is a tradition here, which you'll just have to endure.
Thank you very much.
Of course, the crowd loved you. There's a standing ovation back here. Actually, they're all socially distanced, and
Yeah,
they're in stereo pairs apparently. Listen, you were fantastic. Please hang around.
okay.
If you wouldn't mind. I'm sure people are just going to riddle you with questions, and I know that you have wonderful answers. And thank you for that journey through Turkey. I appreciate that. We all appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Okay, for the next preventer. I'm the preventer. The next presenter is Chris Reynolds, originally from England, currently in South Carolina. His introduction to stereo was via anaglyph cartoons on the back of a cereal pack in the 60s. Many people were brought in. Imagine that. That was like the gateway drug was a box of cereal for 3D. And it was rekindled with occasional stereo exhibits at the Sutton Coldfield Photographic Society, along with his introduction at that point to infrared photography. He's the past president of the Portland Camera Club. That's Portland, Maine. Currently a member of the Atlanta Stereo Club and also a member of the PSA, I'll say that, and chair of the PJ division where they shoot 3D pajamas. Now that's the photojournalism division. He shoots with both film and digital cameras. I'm sure you're going to love his work. Do we have you, Chris? Are you out there?
I'm out here. So
Oh, excellent. We're going to keep moving. Now, where was this shot?
that's the Roll Right Stones. That's a little stone circle in the Cotswolds on the border of Oxfordshire and Worcestershire. It was started by British architects, 3,000 years ago? It'll be nice when it's finished.
audio is a little faint, Chris. Sorry to interrupt. If you can get a little closer to the mic.
Okay,
Just let me.
let me go. Just give me a sec here.
Sure. Take your time. Was this anywhere near Stonehenge?
I took the volume down because you could hear a hum earlier, you thought. So let me go here and get back to audio.
Let me know when you're ready. Or do we still have you? We improved the audio, we lost you.
Is that any better? Does that make a difference?
Yeah, that's better. That's better. I just want to make sure we can understand you. That's fine.
Okay. No, you're not going to understand me, but at least you can hear it.
Well, you know, you got to learn to speak English. No. Uh-oh. So, where is this again? You could just begin again if you don't mind.
So it's in the Cotswolds, where they filmed. Oh, they actually did an episode of Father Brown there in the last season. It's a stone circle, and there are different megaliths in that area. And it was on a summer day. And
Beautiful. Now, what camera were you using?
that's an EOS 450D, like an XSI. And it was a stereo rig. I had the two cameras together with a SLR Shepherd.
And you had those modified for full spectrum,
Yeah.
which to people who don't understand that, it's just they put filters in cameras. I think that I don't know if that was plainly obvious from the beginning of this, but and folks have them removed or find ones that the filter is not as restrictive and they're able to use it. So this one these were modified cameras, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know? Now this is when it gets a little sticky. The wavelength of the 790, 715. Do you know what you were using on this?
Yeah, this would probably be 720.
Okay.
And if you go to 680, more of the color comes through. So when you do channel switching for color effects, the mild infrared, 680s are usually better. 720, you're getting a little bit more into the monochrome only, and in the 800s, you're purely monochrome.
And do you work on this in Photoshop? Well, I mean, what I should just, rather than put the words in your mouth, what program do you use to process these images?
All Photoshop.
Photoshop.
All the alignment is done in SPM, and that loses all the color profiles, so you put them back in Photoshop anyway.
Here's another beautiful image. Again, notice all that detail in the distance it cuts through. It's fantastic. And that was through an aircraft window, right?
That's right, yeah.
Was that a commercial jet, or was it like a puddle jumper or something?
It's a small jet. It's the Seattle to Spokane Express. So. But yeah, that's the beauty about it. You're taking photos through the window. People, in the aisle are coming by, and they haven't got a clue what you're looking at because it's a blue haze to them. And these are the results that you get.
And now you're shooting with and this one is one camera, right?
One camera, yeah.
Right, and because of the movement of the aircraft, you get that.
Yes.
That effect, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And you use the same filtering? Is that how you stay with that standard?
Yeah, it's about 720. Mm-hmm. And I must say that on the EOS, sometimes you just have to open the aperture as you're viewing it, rather than mess around with live view, because that's a mirror system, so you can't actually see what you're taking very easily at 720 nanometers. It's just black when you look in the viewfinder. So if you've got a camera that's got an electronic viewfinder, that is all taken care of for you.
Out of curiosity, what do those filters cost?
Oh, you can get them from Hong Kong for $10.
Okay, inexpensive.
You get them from Hoya or BMW for $100.
Do you have a variety? Have you noticed a difference in the more expensive filters?
I'll tell you when I get one.
Good answer. I like that. Now, where was this shot?
That's in my hometown. That's Northfield in Birmingham, in England, and that's the local church.
And with the same rig?
The same rig, yeah.
Out of curiosity, what does it say on that? I can't read it. What does it say on that first last page of life there?
It's just got the names. And
okay, because you did that on purpose, though, right? That one that's closest, I guess, because you could actually see that. The rest are harder to see, but that seems to be. I thought you might have done that on purpose.
Yeah, it's no one that I know. Most of my family's behind me.
That's it. And what mountain range is this? Do you recall?
That's the Rockies.
Rockies?
That's probably somewhere over. It's south of Pikes Peak, getting down towards the Four Corners, somewhere in that middle part of the range.
Oh, comment on the clouds.
Oh yeah, yeah. You see, the thing is that you'll see a lot of haze optically. You put the filter on, and it will take out all of the haze, and it will take out everything except for the larger moisture droplets, which are the clouds. So the clouds and the cloud structure is still there, but it takes out a lot of the haze in between. A big thing to bear in mind, though, is if you try to do this type of shot over Shanghai, you're not going to get very good results half of the time, because the pollution over there is different. It's particulates in the air which do block IR, and you can, if you're flying over, coastal China compared to over the US, you see a huge difference in the amount of seeing, the visibility that you have in the distance.
It's amazing. And when you took these shots, did you take a multitude of these as you were moving and pick the ones that work best, or you just?
Yeah, usually you take them. It's always best to take 3. So you've got the choice of deviation. I tend to take 2, and then when I'm processing them, I say, well, I should put 3. So.
And those cameras, do they shoot in RAW?
Yeah, it's all shot in RAW.
It's all shot in RAW. Yeah. Now, where is this?
That's just down the street from here. I'm in South Carolina, and that's a buddy who got married recently, and they were living in his in the dad's place, and he's long gone, but he left his car collection in the field. He's had these since the 50s. Now this would be Cha-Cha, just because it's very close to some of the grass is very close to the lens, where using a twin rig would be too big a base.
On the twin rig, do you generally keep that? Do you work that a lot, or do you leave it at a set?
Yeah, once you got the rig, depending if it's for the 450Ds, it's just typically the 2 cameras side by side. For color work, I use an A7R or A6000. And I do have them either bottom to bottom, or I'll put them one upside down, one reversed on a Z-bar, just to be able to manage the separation.
Well, Chris, thank you once again for your time. Like I said to Oktay, if you don't mind hanging around, if it's possible, and if you do fall off, because that's the way this thing goes sometimes. Yeah, exactly. If you do drop off, we still love you, so come on back. Oh, by the way, the crowd is standing up again. Again, thank you so much for that wonderful explanation. I look forward to seeing more of your work, man.
Okay, thanks.
And stay safe down there in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Well, now we go to a good friend, David Kuntz, if he's out there. Oh, yeah, there you go, David. Can we hear you? I know there's a little bit of explanation has to be done. You have to kind of unmute yourself, I believe.
So, can you hear me?
Oh, there you go. You become. I can hear you. Speak again because you sound a little digital.
How's this? Uh-oh, I'm getting kind of an echo.
Yeah, it happens.
It's low with an echo, so maybe if you mute the TV.
Let's do that.
Yeah, that'll do it every time.
How's that now?
That's much
now,
better.
the only hitch is I can no longer hear you. Hold on. Okay, say something.
Yep, testing 1 2.
Right,
Testing
okay.
2.
Super. Normally I let the computer do the TV do the audio, but we'll go to Plan B.
No, this is always a work in. Yeah, it's a work in progress at any level.
I'm running 2 different things. I'm watching everything on the fancy glyph viewer on my TV, and I use the audio from that, but then I'm watching everybody else and all that nonsense on my laptop and using it. I'm tilting it so we can get Lucy in here too.
Hello, guys.
Yeah, you 3D addicts are all the
Hubble's
same.
here. He doesn't have his 3D glass on.
Well, I got you. Let me explain who you are. And for those few out there that may not know.
Yeah.
That's David Kuntz. He started out in 3D photography in 1978. Has been an active member of the LA 3D Club, which is, I think, now the Stereo Club of South, or was previously the Stereo Club of.
Yeah, that's right.
It was
It's
previously.
now the
So again, since 1970, a member of the LA 3D Club. Since 1980, he's won numerous awards in international competitions. David is currently the treasurer of the National Stereoscopic Association, a past president of the LA 3D Club, formerly editor of the ISU journal Stereoscopy, and former general secretary of the Stereoscopic Society of America. Both a general and a treasurer. Man, that was solid. Heck of a career. And also just a great guy and does great work. So we're going to move on to his images right now. Let's see what we got. That's beautiful.
Thank you. And if anybody's looking at me still, this is the camera that everything you're going to see was shot with. It's a Panasonic TZ3. It's a very low-end point and shoot digital camera that was modified by a guy in the UK to shoot infrared. I got hooked up with him when Susan Pinsky brought home a similar camera after a trip to the UK. And I saw the images. I thought they looked cool. She gave me the guy's name, and he sold me a camera, and I've been shooting with it ever since. And there we go. It's my technique is very simple. I have the camera in completely automatic. The guy who built it white balanced it for me, I think, by putting it either to asphalt or grass. I can't remember, but I use his white balance. I've never changed it. And then I just have the camera in burst mode, and I just hold the shutter down, and I go boom, 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 boom. I take several exposures, and then when I get home, I match the pair that has the parallax that looks good to me. And I might sometimes use several different pairs because something I use for projection, I might would have less parallax than something I might post on Instagram or something like that. So it's not uncommon that I do several versions of an image.
And what program do you use?
I'm using Stereo Photomaker for all my alignment and cropping and windowing, and then all the manipulation is done in Photoshop. Although this one actually, I had to use the clone tool in Stereo Photomaker quite a bit because the clouds were moving so extremely fast, which is why they got interesting 3D going on them. But those shadows that are on the hills in the rear left changed so dramatically, even in the second between exposures, that I had to do some cloning so that they wouldn't be distracting.
You know what? Explain that for people to understand a favorable cloud movement.
Again, according to Susan Pinsky, you're always supposed to move in the direction of the clouds. So in other words, if the clouds are blowing from left to right, you take your left, and you're doing a sequential, you take a left exposure first, and then you move to the right and take subsequent exposures. And that supposedly will eliminate, or I'm not supposedly, it'll eliminate you getting kind of a pseudoscopic effect where the cloud depth doesn't agree with your foreground depth. I have no idea if I actually did that when I shot this, although usually I'm pretty aware of it. I totally didn't plan on the clouds coming out like this. It was just dumb luck. I'm assuming I did what she said, but they were moving so extremely fast that I got rather pronounced depth with them, which is, like I said, just totally a lucky accident.
Well, if Susan said it, it's gospel. That's why I'll be doing it. I'm not going to try anything else. I'll start.
Exactly. Don't mess with it.
That's what I'm thinking.
Where is that last one? The location of that last shot?
This is in Barstow, which is about halfway between Las Vegas and LA. And because of that, it's a very frequent pit stop for lunch and other things when people are driving between those two cities, which is what we did. We were on the way out there. We stopped for lunch. I walked out of the place we had lunch. I saw this scene, and I was just struck by its emptiness. And normally when I have a strong leading line in a photo like this, I always tell people there better be something, there better be a payoff. It better lead your eye to something so that there's some sort of a payoff to the viewer. But of course, the whole point of this one is there is no payoff. That's the point of this, was to capture the emptiness, and it's called desolation. And that's the point, is to capture that your eye goes and goes and goes, but it never gets to anything.
Is that Route 66, you know, or is it?
No, we're right off of the main highways, but this is a side road that parallels the highway.
So that's like Mojave, right? That's Mojave? Mojave Desert then?
I guess so. I mean, it's up, you know, like I say, it's between Vegas and LA, and Vegas is a bit north of LA, so you're angling northwards as you go there.
A lot of desert out there.
I mean, when you say it is quite literally in the middle of nowhere, boy, it doesn't.
That's where the middle of nowhere actually is.
Yeah, it doesn't get more into the middle of it than this.
And this shot?
Okay, hold on. Well, it may not be obvious to you, but that's Ellis Island. So I know you've got a lot of New Yorkers there right now who may be looking at this and not realizing, because the infrared, you've lost that color contrast on the building that is so characteristic and so obvious. But this is just as you step off the tour boat at Ellis Island, it deposits you right in front of the main structure, and this is it. And then I used a filter called Topaz Glow, which gives you that kind of feathery effect to make the branches, which were bare, you know, have that kind of almost drawn and, you know, quality to them. When I was a kid, I remember. Oh, okay, we're moving.
No, it's okay. No, go ahead. No, okay, continue. I didn't mean. That was my finger. I'll fire it later. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, I remember as a kid seeing in a book a series of paintings by a man as he slipped deeper and deeper into psychosis, and each painting, it looked more like things were turning into flames. And in the last one where he was completely psychotic, everything just looked like it was on fire. And so what I'm trying to do here is kind of capture it kind of midway through that process.
Not only is it a photograph, but it's a therapy session.
Yeah, exactly, right. But I like, you know, that I love impressionist
beautiful
paintings, and I'm kind of trying to go for something that has a very painterly effect.
No,
But that's problematic in 3D, because when you apply filters like this, if it doesn't do exactly the same thing to the left and the right, your eye will notice the difference.
Immediately, right? That breaks the whole thing, right?
Yeah, so it's problematic. This was shot in Kona, Hawaii. That is what the tree looks like. There's no photoshopping of it. I called it corkscrew palm for rather obvious reasons. And I thought the infrared would be a good match for this subject, because the tree looks weird, and so I thought the infrared, which gives you kind of this weird contrast situation, would complement the subject well.
Did you pack that camera with you while you're bringing other 3D gear? And
yeah, exactly. You know, again, it's quite small, so it, you know, has a place in my camera bag, which I already have 2 twin camera rigs and a W3 in there. So I don't have a whole lot of extra space, but it's enough for that little thing.
And it's
I'd
a
love
cha.
to have a twin. Go ahead.
And this is the cha-cha, right? You see?
Yeah, they're all. That's why I say they're
all
cha-chas. I shoot just, you know, a series usually over, depending on how close the thing is. I might move the camera as much as a foot, but I've shot maybe 8 or 10 shots, and so I just go through and I pick the pair that works the best, again, for the medium.
Another nice one.
Yeah, this is shot in Cleveland of the Claes Oldenburg sculpture, which is very iconic there, and same old, same old. I just shot a bunch of pictures. And then obviously the one thing I did here was color in the lettering on the stamp. When I looked at it, not only did it need a strong center of interest photographically, but it just seemed like it begged for that, so that you could more easily read it. And you know, it's the whole, what can I tell you?
Yeah, it's
and
beautiful.
the other thing I like is the curious inversion of the artist's intent. In other words, Oldenburg built these giant sculptures of normal sized things to kind of invert our whole relationship to them and turn the mundane and the ordinary into art and an outsized thing. And by hyper stereoing it, I've purposely reverse engineered this thing. Now it looks like it's about the size it should be. And it's everything, it's the world that's been miniaturized. The stamp looks like it's the right size.
Great one. And this image. Again, same thing, cha-chas. And you did okay
yeah,
with
they're all cha-chas. They're all shot with the same camera. It's the only infrared camera I have. This was shot in Tulsa on one of our outings from the Tulsa convention. And this one, the reason I used infrared, because there isn't a whole lot of color in this thing, is, you know, to get the clouds. And also when I processed it, I really amped up the contrast because I wanted to get that ultra contrasty kind of relief that would make this thing have that kind of 30s New Deal WPA era, you know, worker striding, you know, confidently forward lighting and that kind of heroic lighting of, the drama and, like I say, the worker conquering all, because I thought that was kind of the message of this statue. So I wanted to use the lighting and the infrared technique to amp all that up.
Well, that worked. And you obviously were using the Pinsky effect with the clouds, because that's.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to say I do it on purpose. So I don't sound like a complete idiot. I think I do, actually. I'm not sure. I try to be aware.
Well, I'm going to have to play that back, your initial explanation, to figure out what you said about the left to the right. But don't even bother with it right now. I'm just going to play it back later. But that's a beautiful shot.
Thank you. Also shot on the Tulsa Convention I think this is Oral Roberts University. It's a sculpture called, obviously, Praying Hands. And I decided in post-processing to add what I surmised they might be praying for. Because I think you'll remember that Oral Roberts said that a 600-foot tall Jesus appeared to him and said that he would call him home if he didn't raise $1 million within the next 24 hours or something like that. So that was kind of where I thought we were going here.
And this was the payoff.
Yeah, exactly. It worked way better than anybody expected.
That's the old saying, you just throw all the money in the air. What God wants, he can keep. Whatever drops down, I'll take.
Yeah, right.
Hey, that was fun again.
Thank
Always
you.
a pleasure to have you, man. Really, always
Thank
a pleasure. That was fantastic. That was a lot of fun. Oh, wait a minute. The crowd is standing. The socially distanced crowd. Now, that was quite fun. That would do it's amazing what you could do with just a simple camera, but you also have to have the talent. But you know what? Go out and shoot. Don't the fact that these guys just shoot beautiful work shouldn't disappoint anybody. You should go out and try it yourself. It's like, don't worry about climbing up the diving board and worrying about all. Just jump in the pool, whether it's a belly flop or a 5-point, Olympic dive. Just try it, it turns out it's not that expensive at this point. Anyway, our next guest is Wayne Karberg. Do we have you, Wayne? You might have to fuss around with that microphone a bit. I just want to confirm.
We have to. I unmuted him.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll stand by. Okay, good. Again, a little about Wayne. Wayne Karberg is he's retired to Laramie, Wyoming from Cleveland, Ohio. He was a large power generator equipment engineer at a central generating stations and always had a passion for photography. As a matter of fact, I'd ask him and he'll come back along the way. He has a bunch of 3D of those massive, crazy machines that make your lights work. Most of the images you're going to see were taken on hikes with his dog along the prairies of the Great Laramie Plains or the surrounding Medicine Bow National Forest. I guarantee you are going to be jealous. He says that Wyoming is really a small town with very long streets. And, so I could see the charm of living there, and you're going to see the charm in another moment. Okay, we got you, just to be sure.
I'm here.
Thank you, Wayne. Loud and clear, too, man. I think you moved next door. Now, you wouldn't want to live in this neck of the woods. Not with this. This is gorgeous. What was this shot with?
Well, this is a Cha-Cha with a Canon G9 that's converted to a full spectrum conversion with a 720 filter added. It's just a point and shoot Cha-Cha. As you can see from the clouds, there are some deviations that enhance or maybe even distract from the view. I think they enhance it.
Have you experimented with other infrared filters? Because it seems like a marginal difference in a 720 or 715. I'm just wondering, did you experiment with any of that yet? Or did you?
No, the camera came with a 715 filter.
Got it.
So I just used it. I think we're splitting hairs between 715 and 720, although some of the filters sold on eBay are very poor. So they call it an infrared 720 filter, and it's just deep red. It's a crapshoot when you buy them off eBay. These are probably also, a lot of these are HDR. So that you are seeing 3 shots required on each left and right image.
That's a setting for that the camera has, obviously.
Yeah, the camera does automatic HDR. I have to combine them in Photomatics afterwards.
A Photomatics is a Canon. Is it
It's software.
I know it's software specifically designed for the Canon. It's just it's a photography software.
Yeah, it's photography software.
Mm-hmm.
And
where is? Go ahead.
I shoot everything with the camera set on black and white. I don't want to deal with switching channels, all that Photoshop crap. I just shoot in black and white. Infrared is in my opinion, a monochrome medium as it is. Everything is really deep red. The false color infrareds, which are attractive, make use of the differential pass characteristics of infrared through the color filter array. For instance, a lot of the infrared shots, you see very deep blue skies. Well, how much red light gets through those deep blue filters?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
This is only a few steps from my home, maybe a 10-minute stroll.
And again, I just want to confirm again, Cha-Cha?
This is Cha-Cha. It's and this was in the shade. All of the foreground you see is in the shade. Only the clouds are illuminated by some. This is in the Medicine Bow Mountains, about 10,500 feet.
And when you do the Cha-Cha, which is basically moving the camera and taking one shot from one position and a slight variance in the other position, how far do you judge that? Do you have a typical thing? Do you step? Is there a system you have?
Yeah, I guess it's experiential. I just guess. Typically, when clouds are in motion, I take a left shot, then a right shot, then a left shot, because I can never remember the rule of thumb for which direction to move with regards to the direction of cloud movement. So I give myself some choices. Hey, digital photography is cheap. Just burn up the memory space on the card.
Another great shot. Now, where is this?
Yeah, this is in the Medicine. This is Lake Marie in the right off the road in the Medicine Bow Range. That's the snowy range behind us. It's 3 steps off the highway.
What do you find to be your most interesting subject? What do you go out to shoot? Is there anything that you like that you know you're going to get a good shot, or something that you actually crave to shoot?
Most of the stuff I take is around my home, to tell you the truth. There's plenty here. To be honest with you, there's much more available in the small world than the large world for stereo photography. But for infrared, you've got to include the large, in my opinion.
Now, how long have you been shooting? Just 3D itself.
Oh, in 3D, I started in the early 70s when a neighbor next to me sold me her realist. And I used that. She had that realist for 20 years, and I used it for another 20 at least. And I would respool my own films because I couldn't afford slide film at the time until I got later in life and switched over to transparency films. And then I switched to digital when it became available, when it finally exceeded film.
So when you were using regular negatives, how were you viewing the images? How are you making it viewable?
I would actually go into a dark room and print prints and make a Holmes card. That took about an hour, not including the drying time. But boy, have things changed.
Did you have a favorite film?
Whatever was cheap at the time. It was black and white, and whatever was cheap at the time. I actually did use some Kodak high-speed infrared black and white film in a realist. I wasn't too successful except in special circumstances because of the light leak that occurred. High-speed infrared black and white film is exceedingly sensitive to white light. And the light leak that's a feature of a realist was ruined many of those rolls.
And what got you to shoot infrared of all things?
Well, I was fascinated by infrared, even in 2D shots. I have a Flickr album of infrared, and there's a lot of 2D there and 3D there, and it just provides you with a view of the world that you don't see otherwise. Again,
what do you prefer? What do you prefer, shooting in 2D or 3D?
I prefer 3D, although sometimes 2D represents itself better because it's not so easy to perform.
And where is this, by the way?
Again, this is maybe 20 steps away from the prior shot in the Medicine Bow Mountains, the snowy range of Wyoming.
Now, what happened? Who gets tired first, you or the dog?
Well, in this instance, I drove there, so the dog doesn't get tired. The dog still is interested, but it doesn't get tired.
And where is this?
Well, this is also in the Medicine Bow Range. This is not a cha-cha. This was taken with a pair of Minolta Dimage 7s, which I hold in my hand here. It's about a 5-inch interaxial. These Minolta Dimage 7s, not 7 eyes, but 7s, had a very weak infrared blocking filter and are just barely hand holdable in bright sunlight. I mean, you have to set up the ISO to 200 and keep the apertures pretty wide to get about 25th of a second shutter speed. But they are infrared sensitive because they were designed with a very poor, or I should say very weak, infrared blocking filter.
And so those are fairly inexpensive. They're older cameras. Those are, right?
Yeah, 2002. You can get them from eBay for $35 to your door, probably. So and they use AAA batteries. They have a lot of other negatives to them, but once you learn how to use them, you can use them.
So really, there's no, you really don't, did you put filter? There's a filter on. I'm trying to get it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
So you have the 720s on there, right?
There's 720s on it, yeah.
That's interesting. The defect turned out to be a useful. I probably by tomorrow, I'm sure there'll be none left on eBay. I'm pretty confident. You just did a great ad.
I have an automatic search function, and one comes up for like 15 or 20 bucks. I'll buy it because I can always use them.
That's another beauty right here.
Yeah, it's also done with a Dimage 7.
This one was on obviously because you couldn't cha-cha unless you inflated that dog. If,
No.
Just keep an inflatable dog with me for pictures. And this? Do you know where? Yeah, where are we looking at now?
I'm waiting for it.
Oh yeah, okay. It's going to take a moment. Sometimes it does that. Stand by.
Oh, this is Rocky Mountain National Park, which is perhaps an hour and 15 minutes from my home. One thing you notice here is the needles on the conifers are bright white. Sometimes that doesn't happen. I haven't figured out why. It might be the angle of the sun. It might be the health of the needles. But some of my conifers do not come out as white as this. But this is Rocky Mountain National Park.
There's a thing called normalized differential vegetation index, which is kind of what they use on a satellite when it's a way to tell the health of a plant by what gets reflected. And I can only say that once during my day. NVD, I'd rather say NVDI. No, NDVI. That's what satellites use. That's what actually the drone guys are using too to tell the health of crops.
Okay. I believe it.
Yeah. And this is?
I'm waiting for it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, forgot that.
I only got 800 kilobits per. Oh, this is called Sphinx Rock. It's about a 15-minute stroll from my home. This was, as a matter of fact, it's the subject of a postcard from the Union Pacific Railroad that was photographed in 1937. The Union Pacific Railroad, the Transcontinental Rail, is only about 1.5 miles from my home. So I get to see a lot of railway during the day. But this is a rather famous formation called Sphinx Rocks. This is probably a cha-cha.
Did you shoot infrared before you moved to Wyoming?
Oh yes, it was the infrared I took was typically with film, black and white, Kodak high-speed infrared. I did a lot of 2D. I just never was able to be very successful at it. It was hard to view and compose with a film camera because of you would have to put the filter on afterwards. It was tough, but digital made it a lot easier. And this is just a grab shot somewhere in the Medicine Bow National Forest.
Well, that was fantastic. As again, that was quite beautiful. It was a wonderful journey. Infrared really takes you into some wonderfully interesting places. And the crowd seems to be